welcome to Political Chinwag. I'm Scott.
I'm Jordan.
And I'm Zoe.
How do we want to introduce the topic or the subject that we're going to talk about? We need a little blurb, don't we?
We're going to have two subjects this week, aren't we? We're going to have the online safety bill and then whatever you're talking about.
And what was yours?
I just said go with yours too, because we're trying to keep it low in time. I have a funny feeling the online safety bill is going to take up a lot of time, and human rights is. So I think two subjects that we can just sort of jump between.
So mine will be quite reactionary. So I found a story thinking of human rights. So I was thinking about Human Rights Act and how there is nothing in the Human Rights Act that gives someone the right to death.
Yes.
So, however, in Canada, they do have assisted death. And I found a story of a Canadian veteran who is disabled and a wheelchair user and was waiting for a home wheelchair lift to help her get up and down the stairs more easily.
Right.
And she followed up to see how long it was going to take. And instead, she was offered assisted death, which is horrendous. It's like, oh, hi, it's about a 6-week wait for your stair lift. Would you like to die instead?
I didn't realise it was that lenient.
Apparently so. And it's a former Paralympian. Help me out here. Paralympian. He served in the Canadian military.
I never had a clue.
So yeah, Christine Gauthier, I assume that is, testified before Canada's House of Commons Veterans Committee last week that she was shocked when the VAC employee offered her suicide as a solution to her suffering. She told the MPs that she was fought for wheelchair accommodation for 5 years. So yeah, I think that's probably a bit too lenient for my liking.
It is. I'm definitely pro sort of allowing it. I do feel that we should allow assisted suicide, but I think definitely not as lenient as that.
Yeah.
I think you'd have to be in some state where realistically it's all down to capacity, really. So if you have absolutely zero capacity to do anything, then I think we should look at those options. But then it comes into the human rights and the legal of capacity.
Definitely. And I think when someone loses their mental capacity, it then becomes difficult, because if it wasn't part of their wish prior to want to end their life, if they're not able to have any sort of quality of life and they've lost all cognition, then who are we to end their life?
It's a hard one. I think assisted suicide is something that the UK have really sort of lacked over the last couple of years. I think it's crueler to let someone who simply can't do anything just sit and suffer for months, if not years on end, until finally nature happens. And
I guess it's all very circumstantial on a case-by-case basis, for sure.
It is, and I don't think we need to be lenient on it. I just think we need to be realistic, and as weird as it sounds, human about it. We're quick to put animals down in that are in pain. Yeah,
that is true.
Almost very quick.
I think I'd struggle more to have my cat put down than my mum.
And as bad as this is going to sound, it's not as bad as that, but it'll save the NHS money.
Yes, it's true, yeah.
The financial aspect of it, it'll save the NHS money, it'll save families money, and it'll probably bring closure to a lot of families.
But I guess that's the fear. It becomes a financial thing. If you open the Human Rights Act up that bit, then how many people are going to say, "Oh yeah, my mum's lost it now; she needs to go," and then they do it just to get her money, or services do it to try and save money.
I think it needs to be. I think when they look at it, it's going to have to be a professional, a family member, or acquaintance. And then a legal aspect of it, all that have to come to a conclusion to which of it's the right decision to be made. It all comes down to capacity, though. So if they have the mental capacity to make that decision, then it's down to them. But if they haven't got the mental capacity, who makes that decision?
Well, you'd have to have an IMCA, wouldn't you?
It's
and best interest decisions.
It's a lot of red tape on it, especially when it comes to no capacity. And it'll be much easier for someone that has capacity in order to do it. Obviously, in our lines of work, we know
Yeah.
all too well how capacity affects a lot of decisions.
Mhm.
And I think if they've got it, if they've got like a not a will, what do you call it? If they've got a statement pre-prepared about what their wishes are if they were to lose capacity. So if you get diagnosed with, say, dementia, and you say, if I get to the point where I lose all cognition,
Yeah.
I want to end my life. But then it's different, you know. They may lack capacity because it's all decision based, isn't it? So they may lack capacity around their care needs or their finances, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they'd want to die. If they can
Exactly.
still have a good quality of life. So
I
it's
think
just
it's a hard one. So I don't know. When it comes to people with capacity, that's when the decision's made a lot easier. There's a lot less red tape. But when it comes to people that haven't got capacity, people that have lost mental capacity, that's when it's going to be getting very, very tricky. And it's like, for instance, the recent argument about abortions as well, in regards to certain disabilities that would be seen further on, obviously, in the pregnancy, being allowed abortions. That's an argument ongoing at the moment. And it's very hard to make them decisions, especially when people lack capacity. But it's also hard to understand reasoning behind it, because you can't just allow someone to take their life in regards to in a legal form unless there's true reasons behind it, because there is regret. They might get to like the very day that they want to do it and they completely don't want to do it there, which is fair enough.
no, definitely. And in some way, we already kind of do allow people to die, because it's not. For example, I had a case where a chap had alcoholic neuropathy and he had to have his leg amputated, but refused to have treatment. So he was advised, if he didn't go into hospital for treatment, that there is a 99% chance he would die overnight. And you know, I assessed him as to have capacity. He can make that unwise decision despite what we think, and he would be allowed to die.
Yeah.
So I guess it's no different, is it? It's just they're choosing a process to which they can end their life rather than just letting nature take its course.
Yeah, and I think it's very important to obviously look at the dignity factor as well, because there's a lot of dignity in it. And like when I think of, say, for instance, assisted suicide, I think of people with terminal illnesses whose life and the way they can live their life is going to deteriorate quite quickly. And it's going to have a massive impact on not just themselves, but on the family. Because care and support isn't always provided by the NHS. And then that starts eating into private financial sides of things. And some people don't want to be a burden on the family. In fact, a lot of people don't. We know you are, Scott.
Yeah, that's a big thing, isn't it? Feeling like they're being a burden.
Exactly. But it's just having to understand. It is a tricky one. I think in the UK, I don't think we're going to see it in the next 10 years. Assisted suicide.
I'd say even 20.
I don't think, if ever, to be honest with you.
It's just open to, there's so many elements for this open to abuse. You'd have to get it absolutely, the criteria of it absolutely perfect, so it couldn't be abused.
Exactly. And like you say, it can be used really badly in order for someone to make financial gains, for instance.
Yeah.
And it
Whether
is
it
a
be
risk.
family services, whatever.
Exactly. So I think realistically, we probably won't see it in the UK. Should we see it in the UK? I think it should be an option, personally. I think we should look at assisted suicide, but only for certain cases. And it really needs to be legislated in that way where it is for certain. There needs to be very, very detailed reasonings to who can be allowed assisted suicide and who realistically can't. And that comes down to a lot of paperwork, a lot of legal side, which I don't think realistically we're in a position to try and make such a change.
Yeah.
Should we let Zoe introduce her topic?
Yes, so please do.
Yeah, so I thought we could talk about the online safety bill.
No.
Obviously,
Yes, the Commission does want to increase its powers. Yes, it is a non-elected body, and I do not want the Commission to increase its powers against this House. So, of course, we are differing. Of course, the chairman or the president of the Commission, Mr. Delors, said at press conference the other day that he wanted the European Parliament to be the democratic body of the community. He wanted the Commission to be the executive, and he wanted the Council of Ministers to be the Senate. No. Perhaps the Labour Party would give all those things up easily. Perhaps they would agree to a single currency, to total abolition of the pound sterling. Perhaps being totally incompetent with monetary matters, they'd be only too delighted to hand over the full responsibility, as they did to the IMF, to a central bank. The fact is, they have no competence on money, no competence on the economy, so yes, the right honourable gentleman would be glad to hand it all over.
Obviously, there's a lot of mixed opinions. There's been some changes. So it returned to Parliament on Monday after a 5-month delay for very many reasons. So the changes to the bill at the moment are for stronger protections for children, stronger requirements on age limits, putting users in control of their own feeds, and greater protections for free speech. So obviously it's basically a framework, isn't it, to protect internet users from scams, illegal content, and non-abusers. I can't say the word anonymous. Yeah, edit that bit out where I definitely couldn't say anonymous.
No, it's
Thanks.
going to be on
Anonymous.
repeat.
Yeah.
Anonymous.
It's fine.
We haven't got a Tory rap for a while, so
I know. Well, I was going to learn the rap for the online safety bill, but I was like, no, we'll save that my work due on Friday, and I'll impress everyone with that. I'll make sure it's filmed. So Michelle said the bill is in its current form had a very, very concerning impact potentially on free speech.
yeah, so that's obviously the big one that I think everyone's worried about. You've got Elon Musk that's just took over Twitter. He's very much free speech.
Yeah, he just got rid of Kanye, hasn't he?
Yeah, but he's also added on several other idiots back onto Twitter.
Yeah.
I can't think of his name.
Which idiots? I don't mind some of the idiots because it's funny.
No.
Well, I suppose it's all about balance, but
I can't think of his name. I can't stand him.
You're about that Andrew Tate guy.
That guy.
him.
He's a prick, to be honest.
Yeah,
but then he's seen as being that, isn't he?
Yes, and you shouldn't give people like him a platform.
The idea of free speech is that everyone has a platform, surely.
Yeah.
Whether you disagree with it or not. It's like, I don't think Kanye should have been taken down for his... I totally disagree with his Nazi comments, and I think he's absolutely deluded and clearly not well. But I don't think he should be deplatformed because of it. If Twitter still has, like, Taliban accounts, I don't think Kanye saying something about Hitler.
Right, but the issue with the Taliban is they're a recognised government official now, whether we like it or not. I know Hitler was before you start going down that route, but social media wasn't around back then, Scott. You might have been looking at you, but I wasn't.
I would say I would have called it Twitler. That's not the dad jokes. I'm sorry.
I don't think I can leave that in.
That is a brilliant joke. Twitter, Hitler, Twitler.
I mean, yeah, but I'm not sure whether for the podcast.
Trust me, I'm trying to be really, like, for lack of a better word, conservative for this podcast.
Right, it's being left in. If we get back, your political career's over now.
Because of Twitter.
Right, but I don't think people like Andrew Tate should be given a platform where he's very dangerous the way he is, because he is influential. Yeah. I've sat and watched his videos, even though he does me editing. I've sat and watched his videos because he captivates you. I said that completely wrong, but he does it. And
we're all doing well on pronunciation today.
I'm always crap on.
It's hard to believe we're in adult higher education.
Yeah, no, but the Open University doesn't exactly set the bars high.
I want to cut that bit out.
Yeah.
No.
Definitely get rid of that bit.
Your grades are just going down.
That's fine. I'm 2 weeks behind now, so it's fine.
Oh, too lightweight. So I have a question. So
Yeah.
what are the protections that are supposedly being put in place, particularly, I guess, around women and children? Was there some of the things I saw that people wanted was more protection for women? So what what are they proposing?
So Refuge have launched a campaign. They want it so that the protections around women and girls is to stop kind of the coercive control that women and girls may receive online. So obviously I know Instagram changed the rules where if you do block someone, you can also block any other accounts that that person might make. Because the issue sometimes is you would block someone online, but then they would make a fake account. You'd work out it was them, you would then block that fake account, and it's an ongoing thing. So it's basically like stalking at this point. So they want to make sure all platforms obviously like give you that option that if you block someone, they are blocked. That was one of the things.
So that would be legislated then, but it wouldn't just be a policy that each social media platform would have. It legally would be then a requirement for them to have that.
But
to have
the
that.
issue I have with that is, how do you manage international social media companies like that to force them to do that? Laws in every country is different.
Yeah.
How do they actually manage that?
That's for the
That
legislators to
answer I
decide.
do not have for you.
I don't think anyone could answer that,
No.
because I don't think it's possible to actually manage that. I think it's down to social media companies to take accountability for it, rather than government organisations doing it.
So I don't want to assume your gender, Zoe, but I'm assuming that as a woman makes you happy to have that there as a social media user.
Oh, of course.
Have you had much harassment in that respect?
No, I haven't. I personally haven't, but I know of people that have. So for them, when Instagram a few years ago brought that measure, like that protection in, that did change their experience on Instagram because they didn't have that fear. They were worried.
Do we think these changes, is it actually going to prevent anything? Because I'm guessing initially the abuse can happen.
Yeah.
But then if they have, so I don't know if I'm understanding it right or not. So you can block. So say I said something you didn't like.
Yeah.
You block me, and then I make a fake account.
Yeah.
How are you going to know that's me? Does it specify? Because it wouldn't be connected to my account, would it?
IP address, I'm assuming.
Yeah, it's done through
okay.
all those technical.
The technical.
Yeah, the technical.
But saying that, don't for instance, can't IP addresses be bounced? They look like
there was something around VPNs as well. That is somewhere in the bill.
I think
I printed the bill out. I have 12 pages here of the online safety bill.
You killed how many trees for this podcast?
I have. I'm committed. Not to killing the environment. I
just write everything down.
I choose it electronically because then it's on the screen, isn't it?
Well,
I write stuff down, but I generally can't read my own handwriting, so.
Oh, me neither.
You can't write.
No, it's true.
Discrimination. Whoops, sorry.
Cut that out as well.
Yeah, we'll cut that out.
But basically, for protecting children, it'll prevent them from access to materials that is harmful for them, such as pornography, and ensure that there are strong protections from activity which is harmful to children, which we expect will include harm such as bullying.
But then,
so how do we prevent? Sorry, Jordan. How do you do that though? Surely that would just be a filter that the parent puts on their computer anyway. Because how can you stop a child going onto any device and then looking something up? Are they saying that they want you to confirm your age by providing
that
ID?
Is one thing they are looking at, but they want to adhere to minimum age of 13, but then What about the 14, 15, 16-year-olds?
And I guess what
See, how can they justify it and what is deemed harmful to kids? Because my version of maybe is harmful could be someone else's version.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I get I guess it's like that YouTube issue, wasn't it, where you can't watch porn on YouTube, but you can see wars, can't you? You can literally see people being shot, executed, and all sorts. So
I don't know if you
the
can see.
balance is right.
I say that like I watched a documentary on YouTube. It was quite gory about the Iraq War. So I was shocked seeing some of the images that was presented on YouTube. So they are quite strong. But YouTube brought out a different platform. They brought out YouTube Kids, which you get on the iPads. So YouTube's basically got a separate platform. And then you have to specify when you upload a YouTube video if it's catered to kids. And I'm assuming it gets reviewed before it gets put onto the kids' platform.
I mean,
I'd assume so.
Most of this to me seems like this is something the parents should be doing anyway.
Yeah, it's. I make sure the kids watch stuff, and they've got the Kindles, the Amazon Kindles, and we've got all the sort of protection on that to stop them from accessing certain stuff. They can't go on the internet. They've just got the kids' profiles, and that's implemented. And that's what really, at the end of the day, I grew up with access to the internet.
Yeah.
I don't think the protections are needed. I think it's just there to reduce the responsibility of a parent more than anything. If we put this in, I can understand it. I can understand the reasons why, but I think personally, I think it's too much micromanagement, and it's
nanny state.
It's going to be ineffective. I don't know how. If say for instance it was for a social media that was catered just to the United Kingdom, then we could probably implement it. Yeah. But we're talking social medias, which are a global scale, which is going to be almost impossible. Now, we could go down the route of the ID, checking the ID cards. And to be fair, I think we should look at the national ID route, giving identification cards. One, it'll give all children a valid ID for going into, say, when they turn 18, going out nightclubs, because I know a lot of people struggle to get IDs, such as driving licenses, because they are expensive. So it gives
I just got a dodgy one.
He's a
if
clown.
Anyone age of 18 is listening, don't take that advice.
Yeah, definitely not.
To be fair, I looked 33 when I was 12, so.
To be fair, you look 53 now.
And I'm only 17. Anyway, we digress. I apologise.
but honestly, I think the ID
on the content that they're labeling as harmful. Like, I completely get the sort of the self-harm content and things like that.
Yeah. But
because children don't need to be exposed.
I agree, but that should be down to the social media companies themselves to manage, and they should be held accountable for that.
That is hopefully what is going to happen. So,
because I was horrified.
Fail to protect, would need to answer to the regulator and could face fines of up to 10% of their revenue, or in most serious cases, being blocked.
So who is the regulator? Are they going to create one?
It'd have to be a global regulator.
As it only says in this document, the regulator. It doesn't explain.
Headed up by Nadine Dorries.
What I think.
Well, it may well be. You never know.
What I think would be the most important thing to do, and I don't think the UK government can make a change. It would have to be someone like the European Union and the United States who can implement such a change and implement such sort of strict things to social media companies. Now, I see most of the worst stuff I ever see is on Twitter. And Twitter's the social media I use all the time. When the Russian war started, the photos that would go around on Twitter were horrific, and it was trending. Yes, I scrolled through them and looked at them. I don't know why, but I did.
I think there's probably also an argument that it's good for exposure.
I disagree though, because even graphic photos or videos can give people PTSD.
Oh no, I agree with that. But I mean, for things like I see, so I'm a member of the Conservative Friends of Afghanistan, and the person who heads that up often shares a lot of videos of what's going on in Afghanistan, whether it be women being flogged for listening to music or whatever. And I think it does I mean, it's obviously, I mean, seeing someone getting flogged compared to being someone getting blown up into the two different, both
Mhm.
shocking, but two different forms of shocking. But I think if you regulate it too much, and you can't get exposure to these things to bring it to awareness.
Well, I was sent in 2015 a link on my DMs. I clicked on it because it was from one of my friends, and it ended up being one of the ISIS beheading videos.
Yeah, that's not
And
pleasant.
that was getting shared right
Yeah.
across Twitter, and it wasn't being taken down by Twitter.
No, I guess that's the same argument for WhatsApp, isn't it? Because the terrorist networks have been using it because it's encrypted, isn't it?
But terrorist
Yeah.
networks use schools and universities. A lot of the
And Labour.
Birmingham, like who went over to Syria, were recruited within the schools and universities. There were school-age children going over to Syria to be ISIS wives, and they were being recruited within the school. It's not just the social media.
Surprised to prevent stuff is meant to prevent that, isn't it?
It is,
Yeah.
but it's like everything. You cannot micromanage a society.
Yeah.
That's like, I think the online safety bill in its concept is a great idea, and it's great to protect people. But realistically, for realistic outcomes, I don't think it's going to work. I think we need to hold these social media companies accountable, whether it's fines or. And I definitely think the ID to get signed up to social media needs to be better. But what's stopping people using the parents' accounts? It comes down to the parents as well being held accountable.
No, definitely. There's personal responsibility in it, isn't
Yeah.
it? You know,
Of
you've
course.
got to.
Yeah.
It's like everything. Parents nowadays, a lot of parents nowadays, they probably don't know what the children are searching on the internet. They probably don't know what the children are doing out in the streets, and that's why we have severe antisocial behaviour issues. I'm not talking every parent in the UK, but there's a lot of parents that, providing the kids are leaving them alone so they can just watch their TV or whatever, they're happy. Whether they're searching pornography on the computer, whether they're out causing hassle to the elderly neighbours up the road. The lack of responsibility, and parents, in my opinion, should be held accountable by law for what their children do until they reach the age of 16. And that's my view on it.
How do you enforce that?
I've only got 6 minutes left, and I'm not going to be able to discuss that in 6 minutes, Scott. But I've got some strong views about how we could reduce antisocial behaviour. We could probably reduce bullying by holding parents accountable for their children. After all, parents are accountable for their children until they're adults. So they should be on the legal side as well, in my opinion. How we sort of work on that, I'm not 100%. I've got my ideas. Whether those ideas are reflected across, I doubt it. But parents need to be held accountable. And children need to know that if they are going to go out and put someone's windows out or cause hassle to an elderly couple or to a vulnerable person, just for the fun of it, that the police can then react, not just towards them, but towards the parents. But how do you do it? I don't know, realistically.
Yeah, that's difficult.
Look at the Human Rights Act.
I am.
I
was looking at I was looking at Article 8 because I was thinking about right to private and family life. To what point can we intervene?
I don't know, because parents now, I think, feel that providing the children like, I've got 3 little ones, and don't get me wrong, I absolutely love when they've all got the pads and they sit next to us and they're quiet, so you get a bit of peace.
Yeah.
But a lot of parents, the kids, even at the age of 8, are running the streets. They haven't got a clue where they are. They haven't got a clue what safety they're in. And they're just running those streets, and providing it's not putting hassle on the parents, they couldn't care less. I bet you could ask a couple of parents on social media, where are your kids going? I bet the 13, 14-year-old, they wouldn't have a clue where their kids are. And they're probably the children in London that hang about with gangs with bad influences.
Yeah.
I think it could be a topic for another podcast, just discussing potential opportunities and how we can make parents more responsible for the acts of the children.
I don't think you can. I think Article 8 would just stop it because it's an intrusion into private and family life. I think you, unless the Bill of Rights that will replace the Human Rights Act.
I say there's too much red tape for the police to do anything, for us to reduce any type of sort of social issues, and whether it's through the European Court of Human Rights, and whether it's through
Mhm.
just generic sort of modernisation of how the British are meant to respond to the way the children are behaving. Now, disciplinary, I don't agree with laying a hand on children. We shouldn't hit children as a discipline. But I think a child should know when they're in the wrong.
Well, we're the only country that's still legal, aren't we?
No, I don't think you can really if you're the children.
Parental hitting of children is still allowed if reasonable.
I wasn't aware of that because
No, I
Yeah.
wasn't either.
Yeah. I was looking it up the other day.
see, I don't agree.
Not because I
Why?
want to go
Wait,
hit children.
wait. Why? Name of the podcast: Scott Confessed.
I'm googling it now. But yeah, I was looking it up.
I
Because
didn't think
I read
it
it
was.
Parental.
Morally, it's obviously not right. I don't agree with it.
Morally and ethically, absolutely.
I absolutely hate the idea of parents swearing at the children or screaming at shouting in the faces
Yeah.
of children. It's horrible, and it
It
leaves
creates
a lasting
adverse childhood
impact.
experiences.
It does.
I'm interested to see if this is because I honestly thought it was legal.
So it says, if it ever loads. So it is illegal for a parent or carer to smack their own child unless it amounts to reasonable punishment.
What's
Now,
classed
the
as
definition of,
reasonable?
Yeah, well, that's
Oh,
what I was going to
exactly.
say. What's reasonable?
and I guess that's for you to defend in court.
I
But
can't
yeah,
believe
so
that's illegal.
Yeah, with the other three parts of the UK,
Effectively, what
it's
they've done is they've used reasonable force and catered it into disciplinary of children. Oh, no,
depends what it is. So
that's
I guess
wrong.
I guess reasonable punishment, would it be reasonable for, I don't know, a tap on the arm for something if they're doing something that could potentially be dangerous? Would that be classed as reasonable punishment? I mean, hitting the face is a no-no, isn't it? Absolutely. There's no reasonable punishment to slap a kid in the face or the head, whatever. A smack on the bum for doing something.
See, I'm very against it. I'm really against it. If I see, well, I am really against it. I
Yeah.
don't even like see the parents in the schoolyard shout at the kids and swear at the kids. It does my head in. For the simple fact, it's trauma. It's creating trauma for that child, and
Mhm.
it's also creating an impression that that's right to do. We have to be role models.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And that's where adverse childhood experiences will recycle themselves, won't it? So if a child goes through that experience when they grow up and they have kids, they will reuse that
Yep.
pattern of what they think's right. So it takes generations to get rid of it. It will continue.
It does. And anyways, thank you for listening to Political Chinwag.
It's been ever so happy.
Confessions of Scott being a bit handy.
Scott.
Yeah.
I don't like that term.
And that's it for episode 1 of Political Chinwag. Thank you for listening to our podcast. This was our first ever podcast that we've done, and it's a learning curve. So whatever you may be listening to us on, please subscribe or follow us. Coming up into the new year, myself, Scott and Zoe will be welcoming an array of guests, including members of Parliament from both sides of the House with luck. So stay tuned and get ready to listen to them. Also, please follow us on all of our social medias. That is Twitter at Political Chinwag and also Instagram at Political Chinwag. Thank you. Bye bye.